Right, so you join me today on the banks of the mighty River Trent. In particular, we're down on the tidal stretch today on the Collingham day ticket water. We're fishing in the 40s today, which is, if anybody doesn't know the section, it's probably about halfway between, just downstream we've got what they call the conveyor stretch downstream, and probably about a mile, 3/4 mile upstream we've got the famous weir. Like I say, it's available on a £10 day ticket. It's really good. You can drive along the bank today. There's a little bit extra in it today, but not as much as I thought there would be, to be honest with you. So hopefully we should do a few fish, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get one of these Trent doubles out. Right, so for my claims, I've got the £10 smoke shield on. It's probably about getting on for a metre and a half long. What I would do is if I were getting a lot of bites and they're coming quite regular, I'd shorten my hook length down. So obviously it means the barbel will come into that feeder to pick that feed up. But as it's been a little bit difficult today, I've kept it as a metre and a half. And all I've done is I've simply got one of our size 12 grappler hooks, and I've just de-rigged a small latex bait band onto the back, so it's tight against the eye of the hook. And all I've been doing that is, you know, because the band stretches, you can fish a 6mm, 8mm or 10mm pellet all on the same rig without having to chop and change your different hooks. Those grapplers are a brilliant hook. They tie up perfectly. They very rarely come out. In fact, I don't think in the 2 years I've used them I've ever had one come out, and they're super strong for the size. Can we do a bream on the Trent video, something like that? No? Don't look at me like that. Oh. Bream on the Trent. No? I know. Tell me, disgusting eyes. Right, the gear I'm using today for fishing on this big river, on the tidal Trent today. It's got a bit of extra water in, but it's a big old powerful river anyway. But the gear I'm using, it's real simple. It's just everything's just stepped up to my normal barbel setup. I'm using the new 13-foot limitless feeder rod. The reason I'm using 13-foot is it's great for keeping line out of water, because obviously you've got your rods elevated up in the air. The less amount of line you have in, the lighter the lead you can get away with. I'm using 3 ounce today, and it's not moving with no problems at all. It comes with 2 tips. It comes with a 6 ounce tip and the 8 ounce tip. I've got the 6 ounce tip in today. There's about a metre of water on the river, maybe a little bit more, but it's not absolutely raging through, so there's no need for 8 ounce tip. The 6 ounce is more than enough. And because it's 13-foot as well, when you're playing these barbel, when it's up like this, you've got a lot of things going on underwater. You've a lot of rocks, you've a lot of grass, nettles, you've all sorts of stuff underwater that you can't really see. And that 13-foot rod helps you to keep that fish away from those near side snags until they're tired out. It's a brilliant rod, casts up to 200 grams, which is more than enough that you should really need on Trent. Absolutely no problem at all. And I've paired that up with the Zelos distance reel. Again, it's all going through that sort of power theme. You know, it's a big old reel, big spool, takes plenty of line. This is the 12-pound barbel line. It's got a great clutch on it as well, and it's got a lot of power when you're winding these big feeders and these big leads in all day. Well, this is taking a while to get. I've had a succession of bream. I suppose it's expected in this coloured water. And now on my downstream rod on a single bait, it's gone over. I'm attached to what feels like, hopefully, a Trent barbel. It's pulled in a little bit in this extra flow. Let's get into margins. It's at margins now. It absolutely tore off when I first hooked it. So because the river's in flood conditions like this, you've got, like I say, you've got all this grass, you could have nettles, you could have brambles, you could have all sorts in front of you. And it's this another benefit of using these 13-foot limitless rods. Not only are they great for keeping line out of water, so you can actually we're using less weight, that when you're playing these fish as well, it helps you to hold it out a little bit away from these potential snags that come in front of you. Like I say, you can't really see them because they're probably under about a metre or two of water. But these longer rods definitely do help. Try and keep its head up now. No point bringing it in too quickly because I see you don't want it full of energy and diving down into these snags. Let them tire themselves out in flow a little bit. Watch where I'm standing. Oh, there it goes. Right, we've made a small change. Getting breamed out, to be honest with you, on that rod. I think I'm fishing a little bit close in, fishing just a little bit too slack. I've gone a little bit further out into the flow, and within 15 minutes it's absolutely ripped off, if it'll behave. Just on a straight lead, this with some pasting lead. It is my downstream rod. My upstream rod's got a feeder on it. This is my downstream one on a pellet. And within about 15 minutes of casting out, it's ripped off. Not the biggest Trent barbel in the world, but I think, given the conditions, it's more than welcome. Right, so the setup for it's just a basic sort of Trent setup. You see up and down. Every seems to be exactly the same, to be honest with you. I've got our rod vesting at the top here that's got the big snag ears on so the rod don't get pulled in. I like them high enough up so they're keeping plenty of line out of water, but I don't want to be like sort of like breaking my neck all the time. So I like them at a distance so when I'm sat in my chair I can sort of like see the tips with my head level. So coming down them, we've obviously got the big bank sticks in with the barbel rests. Coming down to our large angle tilt butt cups, just gives that little bit extra security in case you do get that big bite and the rod gets pulled down. Those are brilliant. Those rods are never going to come out of that until you actually lift it out. And all I'm doing is, on the top rod I've got a feeder on, which I'm regularly recasting all the time with baits like pellets, ground bait, maggots, things like that, and smaller baits. And then my downstream rod is kind of a sleeper rod. I kind of chuck that out and forget about it. That's on a big bait, big paste wrap baits, big paste wrap leads, and that's more or less fished on the same line. Hopefully, the idea being that the barbel are attracted to what's coming out of the feeder, but before they get to your top rod, they get to that bait at the bottom one, and sometimes those larger fish do hand back a little bit off your main area of feed, and you can pick them up by using a downstream rod like that. Right, so the bait for today has been really simple. All I've been doing is on that top rod, I've been fishing a little open end feeder and I've been plugging it with some of this Super Crush hemp and halibut ground bait, just making it as sticky as possible because I want that feeder to get to the bottom and not release on its way down. In the middle of the feeder, just giving some bait, I've either been just putting some maggots through it and then topping it off with more ground bait, or I've been putting some of these cheesy garlic pellets in, using a mixture of 4s and 6 mils, just putting some cheesy garlic pellets in the feeder, sandwiching it between 2 bits of this hemp and halibut crush, and then I've just been fishing a little 8 mil or a 10 mil pellet O under that little band, and that's been on my top rod. I've been recasting that quite regular to get some bait into the swim. I've also tried a couple of casts with just dampening some pellets down, and again these are the cheesy garlic pellets, just dampening these down and plugging them into that feeder. And then on my downstream rod I've been using a 12 mil pellet O, just fishing it on a hair, and round that and round the bait gripper lead I've just been putting some of this paste round, a big handful of paste round your lead, big handful of paste round my up bait, and just basically casting that one out and leaving it. That's sort of just like me silent fishing rod. The top one I've been feeding regularly, the bottom one I've just had this paste on, and all this paste is, again, it's just some little 4 mil and some 4 mil cheesy garlic pellets, and it's some 2 mil pro feed pellets, and these are just prepared again by just pouring some boiling water on some dry pellets at night. Get up in the morning, and it's a perfect consistency paste. So that's been the downstream rod on that. The upstream rod has been the feeder rod, and that's just been emperor Albert crushed ground bait plugged with either some maggots or some cheesy garlic pellets. Yeah, little 8mm pellet banded on. I ain't gained out on it since I hooked it. Just sat out in the river. Might be a carp. Hooked perfectly in the old fucking top of the gob. Right, we're ready. Can you see what it says? What, I can't see what it says now. 10.6.
It's settled on 10.6.
Yeah. That'll do, won't it? Right, so that rod's just ripped off then. A slight change. Despite what seemed like perfect conditions, it's proven a little bit difficult. So I just scaled down to a little banded 10mm halibut pellet, feeder full of dampened pellets. The first cast, it's ripped off with this one. Real strange, typical sort of big fish bite, I suppose. It didn't absolutely rip off, just twitched the tip a couple of times, held itself out in mid-river all the way through the fight, and just slowly came to bank. It's a Trent double, just by a whisker, but nevertheless a Trent double. I think that's why people come down into this river to fish it all the time. I think there's probably quite a few of these in this stretch. And it's a good old fish to have on this horrible, miserable day. I'm about wet through now. I was just about to give up, to be honest with you. I think the microphone went a bit dodgy because I've had it on for that long. But finally it's gone off, and finally it's got that Trent double that we came for. Right off. There it goes. Happy days. Right, that's the end of the session now. It's not stopped raining all day. I think I need to go home and get dried out. It's been a strange one actually. I thought it'd fish a lot better than it did, but we've had, we've had two fish. One of them being a double, which is always nice. But I think it's time to call it a day now.